it was mostly just pop culture TV stuff with Aaron, not much football to talk about?
No, I mean, we just talked about life stuff, and we talked about, Simone Biles was obviously the headline at that point, and
right.
we talked a lot about he was extremely proud of Simone and her courage to say, I'm scared and I shouldn't be out there, is the way he put it. And I think that Aaron is in a really good place. And I think, Rich, that the good thing that they did is everything's out there now in Green Bay. Aaron said everything there is to say. Brian Gutekunst said everything there is to say. Matt LaFleur has made his feelings known to where now when Aaron talks to the media, it's almost like they're past it, Rich, because we know what's going to happen. We know, Aaron talked to Peter King the other day about this, but everybody's stance is known. And so it's almost like at this point, everybody's in a strangely good place.
But what's the stance? You know what I'm saying, Kevin? What's the stance? The stance has got to be, we'll take the temperature of everybody, next February, and hopefully the temperature will be like 20 degrees on a parade. You know what I mean? So that's the way you've got to play it. You can't sit here and say, definitely Rodgers last year. It's Jordan Love's time. Absolutely. Yeah. You can't say that right now. I mean, in the same way that you can't say the exact opposite, that if it all does go great, Rodgers is absolutely staying, and they won't stick to their timeline with Love. We just don't know. Let's just go play football. That's where we currently are in that world.
Right.
Would you say?
Yeah. No. That's the stance. Is that they're going to take the temperature 7 months from now, whatever it is, and they'll figure it out. I mean, I think if we were all betting men, we would guess that this is going to be Aaron Rodgers last year. He's made it known what he was unhappy about and the parts of the communication process that he felt has broken down. And I think that if it's a bad year for everybody, Aaron's probably going to move on. If it's a good year, then we'll see. If it ends in the NFC Championship game again, I would trend towards Aaron not coming back. If it ends in the Super Bowl, I would trend towards him coming back. I mean, I just think that there's so many questions here. I mean, what's the market for Aaron Rodgers in February, in March? If he has a year like he had last year and he wins the MVP, yeah, there's going to be 20 bids. There's going to be first-round picks all over the place being thrown at the Packers. What if he just has an okay year? I mean, there's question marks about that. What if his options aren't as good as we would think? You just don't know. I mean, that's the thing about the NFL, is that the narrative can change so quickly, Rich, that I think to say we know what's going to happen on February 20th or March 15th, it's crazy. I just think everybody knows where they stand from an emotional standpoint, and we'll see what happens.
And then just, I guess, last one, based on you having boots on the ground there, and, I know you spoke life stuff with him. We used to have an annual standing interview with him solely about Game of Thrones. That was honestly, we would call him up and the Packers up and say, we want 15 minutes with him. Nothing but Game of Thrones. We will not talk football with him. So I totally understand that. But boots on the ground, what did happen, best you can tell, to get this 7-month grace period comfort zone where we'll all figure it out, feel it out, we'll take the temperature at the end of it, that we thought from the draft all the way up till that moment that Rodgers returned, thought that Rodgers would never grant that extra space to the Packers. What happened to give Rodgers the comfort level to say yes to that, best you can tell?
There's a couple of things. I did talk to Brian Gutekunst about that in the journey. And what's interesting, I think in generalities, first of all, they have a very good football team. And they have Devontae Adams, they have David Bakhtiari, who I know is coming on after this.
Yes.
And so I think that you're going to win in Green Bay where you might not win in wherever. If David Tepper wanted to throw a bunch of first-round picks in Carolina, in Denver, whatever, you know what you have. But also I would say that the NFL is very limiting for superstars. I mean, look at the franchise tag. Look at how long Aaron Rodgers' contract was. Look at the fact that Brian Gutekunst said that on draft night they only got 1 or 2 calls, one of them being from San Francisco, who are obviously out of that market. And so I think it was a mixture of, they knew they could win this year. Everybody knew they could win this year and have kind of a last dance style thing with Devontae Adams. And the fact that I just don't think he had a ton of options. I mean, he had a bunch of years left. He has 2 years left in his contract. You can franchise tag a guy, 3 times in his situation. And so I just don't think there was a lot of wiggle room. And so I think he knew coming back, getting the promise to, quote, review his situation at the end of the year, that was about as well as he was going to get, as good as he was going to get without retiring. And I don't think he wanted to do that. He still loves football.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.